I've been hooked on the stone-cold hottie who just moved into the next-door lake house. Not only is his face perfect, his body is next level, basically the exact recipe that makes my heart sprint. It took me 2 solid months of chasing before I finally crossed his threshold, to pet his dog. While I was lining up the new chew toys I'd bought, translucent comment bubbles erupted in front of my eyes. Ugh, this side chick is so annoying, always clinging to the ML. The leads never get time to build their own chemistry because of her. Does she really think winning over the hero's dog will make him fall for her? Hilarious. Side chick? Me? What do they mean, winning over the hero's dog? My thoughts were spinning when my phone dinged with a voice note. From Julian. That clear, bright voice slipped into the room. I've got a last-minute thing and I'll be back late. Bailey's still home, could you feed him? Before we continue, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling us where you're listening. I was about to answer yes, but those bubbles I'd just seen nagged at me. Still, I felt ridiculous, taking stock in ghost gossip. Bailey's a sweet border collie who greets me like I'm prime rib every time we meet. There's no way I'd let the pup go hungry. So I agreed, told Julian not to worry, scooped up a chew toy, and walked to his place. The instant I stepped inside, Bailey heard me, sprinted over, and started spinning with his tail helicoptering. I scooped him up for a cuddle. Then I pivoted, hunting for the kibble he loves. Bailey, good boy, are you starving? Big sister's getting your dinner right now. Watching him chow down tail wagging, I snapped a photo and pinged it to Julian. The bubbles scrolled again. Why does the side piece keep interrupting the lead's cute moments? So gross. LOL, the ML's with our FL cooking, no way he's answering her text. My ship's on course, no bit players breaking them up. Ridiculous as they were, those messages updated in real time, almost like they were spying on me. According to the bubbles, I'm the toxic supporting girl who blocks the destined couple, and when I finally realize they're together I'll spiral, frame the heroine, and pull every dirty trick until the hero hates me and kicks me out of the story. But I'm a real person with a conscience, how could I ever do those things? More bubbles hovered overhead, and every single one trashed me. I reopened my chat, the screen still showed the food bowl photo from 30 minutes ago. No reply. I pictured Julian's unfairly perfect face and that sculpted, hard-cut body, inhaled sharply, and felt my chest squeeze. Bailey must have sensed it, he nudged my hand with his head. Bailey, what does your dad really think? Do I still get a shot at being your mom? Hard pass. Side chick should just go to bed. Oof. More heart squeeze. I scrubbed his ears and fished out a treat. At last Julian answered, also a voice note. Thanks for watching Bailey, he looks happy. There's a plate of fresh cat-shaped cookies on the counter, help yourself. I'm bringing dinner back. Julian's tone is always cool, but that bright voice of his hooks me every time. I glanced at the kitten-shaped cookies and flashed back to the day we met. 3 months earlier, my best friend Lindsay had a last-minute business trip and dumped her cat on me. I was doing socialization drills with Marshmallow at Lakeside when she wriggled free of her leash. I searched everywhere and came up empty. Apologize, print posters, check security footage. My mind was a traffic jam of priorities. I plopped on the grass and cried. That's when Julian showed up. Bad kitty, you'd better not be lying to me. Meow. I caught the faint cry, jerked my head up, and spotted Marshmallow draped across a tall hottie's chest, kneading him like human catnip. They walked toward me together. Julian's face was frosty, he tugged at Marshmallow, trying to peel her off his neck, but she clung on. His perfect brows pinched, cheeks puffed in silent protest. Little monster, that's a chokehold. Meow. I wiped my tears and stood. Julian stopped in front of me, wide almond eyes unreadable. Just as I opened my mouth, he suddenly asked the cat, her? Mew. Your cat. He deposited Marshmallow into my arms, hesitated, then murmured, don't cry. She's back. Feeling that warm fur, I burst into fresh sobs, relief mixed with leftover panic, right in front of a total stranger. That day Julian patted my back with the stiff gentleness of someone who's never comforted a crying girl, but the warmth of his palm branded itself on my memory. The next time I saw him, he'd become my new next-door neighbor. Fast forward to now. I drag my gaze back to the comment bubbles, and the happy flutter in my chest freezes. Those cookies? The ML baked them after our FL taught him. The bite in my mouth turns to chalk, I can't swallow. Dude's got game, knows exactly how to string her along. Right? While Sidegirl babysits the dog, he and the FL are prepping a seafood feast. At least he's nice enough to bring leftovers to the placeholder. No way. Julian's too kind to play me like that. They're just trolls bent on sabotage. I can't let phantom gossip poison us. But what if? What if Julian already likes someone else? He's clean-cut gorgeous, with those droopy puppy eyes, even stone-faced he looks innocent. He listens to every word I say, eyes sparkling, focus locked on me, like he could be scooped up by the first smooth lie. Half of Riverdale probably wants him. I start spam texting Lindsay. Lindsay, what if the guy I like already has someone? She calls instead of texting, exasperated. Because I'm brushing Bailey, I set the phone on the coffee table on speaker. Tansy. Miss Sterling has a mile-long fan club, and you're upside down over one broody neighbor? I can set you up with 5 hotter options tonight, satisfaction guaranteed. Lindsay believes you only live once, mainline pleasure, skip the angst. But I only want him. Julian looks like a statue carved by committee, cool, elegant, untouchable, pretty, soft features, huge round eyes, yet he keeps his expression flat and remote. When he thinks I'm not looking, a shy smile sneaks out. I've caught it more than once, and it melts me. And he's got another side. The man sweats beautifully, wild contrast to his usual chill, enough to make a shameless hedonist like me drool. Last month Julian said Bailey missed me and invited me for dinner. I accepted, figured I'd help in the kitchen, and headed straight to his place. He opened the door breathing hard. Flushed and winded, he asked, "You're early? Think about what you want to eat, I'll start in a minute." He stepped aside to let me in. I meant to plan the menu, but my eyes superglued themselves to him. Clearly he'd been working out. He wore a skin-tight black top, mock neck, slightly see-through. A triangle keyhole was cut right over his sternum, revealing a shadowy groove with sculpted pecs bulging on either side, their edges curved upward like smirks. A bead of sweat slid along the trench between them and vanished under the fabric. I dropped my gaze. The cloth clung to carved abs, every ridge on display. Maybe my stare burned. Julian followed my unabashed stare and looked down. He didn't cover himself, though. Instead he let me look, completely unembarrassed. His fists tightened, muscles locking, body trembling faintly. The swell grew more obvious. Through the thinning fabric a soft pink showed. I belatedly yanked my gaze away, tilting my head to fish for small talk. "You work out?" Julian gave a low hum, eyes round as he leaned in, voice husky. "Tansy, why'd you stop looking? Is my body that bad?" When I turned back his expression was pure puppy hurt, cheeks still flushed, devastatingly pretty. I shook my head hastily, praising his solid muscles and sleek lines, so disciplined, already perfect. While he soaked up the compliments I secretly slapped a mental label on him, world-class hunk. He pricked my nose. I dared think no further. If push comes to shove, just pounce, what's in your mouth is yours. A knockout like you, he sure won't complain. Besides, with your assets you could juggle a few guys, no need to hang yourself on one tree. Lindsay, tired of my silence, pondered for a second and tossed out a plan. Girl talk makes you bold, words slip out unchecked. Relax. If that day ever comes, Miss Shaw can show me the buffet. You said it. I'll line up the hotties, no backing out. Grunge gods, sweet heartthrobs, wolf pup boys, silver fox daddies, one look and you'll want the whole catalog. Deal. I'll sample every flavor you brag about. As I spoke I was secretly jabbing Bailey, addicted to his baby whines. I never noticed Julian had walked back in. Only when the sleepy Bailey scrambled up and trotted toward the door did I shut up. To keep Lindsay from dropping any atomic bombs I hung up first. Facing Julian in the foyer, I croaked, "Back already?" That was quick. No idea how long he'd been standing there, or whether he'd caught my wild declarations. Since no human was home and Bailey doesn't speak English, I'd felt safe. The comment bubble scrolled at light speed, roasting me. Oops, busted by the main guy. ML loathes pervs, yet the villainous steps right on that landmine. I rubbed my nose and, feigning calm, started packing up the grooming tools, missing the scorching turbulence that flooded Julian's eyes. Bailey circled his owner, barking urgently. Julian crouched, back rigid, and ruffled the dog's head. When he rose the storm inside him had been tamped down. Hungry? I brought fresh catch, let you taste where I come from. Fresh catch? He really had. The comment bubbles nailed it again. I stared at a random corner, panicking. Unbearable, he's flaunting hometown flavor to the villainous. And that hometown flavor trick was copied from the FL, childhood sweetheart fans declare. Every bubble cheered, while my own heart took a punch. Tears blurred my vision before I could stop them. Noticing my expression, Julian set the bag down in a rush. "What's wrong?" I opened my mouth but couldn't speak, swallowing the sob. "Feeling sick somewhere?" I didn't actually know what to say. The floating comments still felt unreal even though I saw them daily. I blinked hard to erase the tears and diverted with a smile. Nothing, just couldn't suppress 2 yawns in a row. But you. His brows knit, worry clouded his face. Before he could push further I cut in. Didn't you say you brought fresh catch? I'll help. I moved behind him, ready to propel him toward the kitchen. The instant my palms touched his back he jolted. The muscles beneath my fingers snapped taut. Realizing I'd startled him, I started to withdraw. But Julian stepped away first, pivoting to face me, half an arm distant. I let my empty hand drop, flustered. Julian lowered his gaze, ear tips pink, faint tremor still in his frame. I've got the cooking, go rest. Everything's prepped, the sauce will take 2 minutes. He practically fled into the kitchen, juggling groceries. Dead, this male virtue icon flinched, textbook purity. Modesty is a man's best dowry, period. LOL, hiding from villainous now. Wait till he's alone with FL, he'll combust. Virtue? Minutes ago he'd flaunted himself like an open exhibit. I'd been an inch from hands-on inspection, now he dodged me. Julian whisked together a sauce, plating it like art, color, aroma, perfection. He slid a bowl of peeled shrimp in front of me, then lifted a crab, fingers deftly pulling meat. Head bowed, utterly focused. The cat-shaped cookies barely went down. You must be starving. Eat, I'll finish this crab in a sec. He nudged a dipping bowl closer. Taste this, there's an aquatic herb from my hometown, it lifts the flavor. Hope you like it. He stole glances between breaths, anticipation brimming. My brain, flooded all day, drifted. I missed the cue and moved like a robot. Julian's face darkened. He swallowed, then asked quietly, "You don't like it?" The loss in his voice snapped me back. Beside me he looked crushed, lower lip jutting, knuckles white, eyes glassy, utterly wronged. Crap, he must feel awful. He'd rushed around, hadn't taken a bite, pampering me the whole time, and the moment he proudly shared a piece of home I zoned out. Guilt poured out in apologies. Remembering the joy that had laced his voice when he mentioned home, I tried to fix it. Julian, is your hometown on the coast? It's getting warmer, let's drive down, hunt for shells, dig for clams. My brain instantly served an image of him flushed and breathless. I tested the waters, can you swim? We could splash around. Lean swimmer's build, tight waist, water drops racing down sleek grooves, gorgeous. Before the fantasy finished, no. Not the beach. Julian cut me off sharply, face paper white, lips trembling. His eyes reddened, lids drooping, tears gathering. Meeting my worried stare, he flinched and stammered for an explanation. It's fine, there are tons of summer spots, we'll pick another. Guessing at deep-sea phobia, I blocked whatever he might confess and changed the subject. The comment bubbles offered alternate scripts. Wait, didn't he just get back from the beach with FL? Foreshadowing flag, bookmarking dot. What foreshadowing? He just doesn't want a vacation with villainous, Just back from the beach? I glanced at the fresh catch, recalling the damp sheen on his hair when he'd walked in. Something had happened, surely not the cruel he hates her theory. Julian isn't fake, he wouldn't treat me like that. If it weren't fear of the ocean he'd never have panicked that hard. Gradually his tremor subsided. After what just happened, I decided to find a chance to set things straight. If Julian's heart already belonged to someone else, I'd retreat to the friend zone and stop bothering him. If the opposite were true, then I would fight for him bravely. In short, I wasn't going to let a bunch of comment bubbles decide my relationship with Julian. Once that was settled, I'd planned to hit him with a straight pitch at the right moment. But work swallowed me whole, Jordan, leaving me no time to breathe. Those weird bubbles that appeared out of nowhere didn't only trash talk me, they also let me peek at corners of life I'd never noticed. They warned this new collaboration would be a train wreck, that misfortune would dog every step. Even if the deal closed, the factory would secretly swap in inferior materials and trash my reputation. I had someone buy a batch under a fake account, sure enough, quality all over the map. I couldn't let product like that carry my brand into the market, so I switched vendors at the last second and dodged the bullet. But swapping factories meant renegotiating everything, Jordan, and romance fell off my radar. I never asked Julian where we stood, though he sought me out several times. He said Bailey had been hyper lately, obsessed with fetch, and asked if I could join their walks. I was too busy, out at dawn, back after midnight. By then his lights were off. I had to keep saying no. Julian, sweet as ever, worried the grind would wreck my health. Every night he left restorative soups and light snacks in a thermal tote on my porch shelf, still steaming when I lifted the lid. Tonight, beside the midnight snack, sat a gift-wrapped box sealed with a shell-shaped sticky note. You've been running on fumes. I blended a new scent, calming, sleep-friendly. Long-term use even perks up your complexion. When you finish this bottle, I'll bring the next. Odd, Julian leaves me plenty of notes, but they're always printed, never his handwriting. On the phone he sticks to voice memos or emojis, barely types, totally out of character for the ice statue next door. Too curious about the perfume, I brushed the mystery aside. The fragrance was sweet yet crisp, pure, not cloying, just like its maker. It soothed me. I spritzed my bedroom before bed, my nerves unknotted, and I slept the deepest sleep I'd had in weeks. Whether the scent or my mindset deserved credit, my efficiency spiked and I wrapped the project early. Lindsay heard I was free and dragged me out for retail therapy. She wanted to pick up accessories for Marshmallow, so I drove over, planning a small gift for Bailey. Cradling all that fluffy softness, I sighed. Hugh really does rule the world. At Pet Palace, Lindsay and I ransacked a rack of knit hats. I turned to model one on Marshmallow. The leash hung empty. Where was the cat? Lindsay, did you buy the leash a size too big? She stared at the dangling collar, dazed. Nope, she's been on a diet. We exchanged a look, dumped our loot, and sprinted toward the front desk. Lindsay theorized the riot of smells had triggered Marshmallow's under-socialized self. Before we could alert staff, Lindsay nudged me, laughing. Relax, she's just found her soulmate. I followed her finger. Marshmallow was glued to a tabby, rubbing cheeks as they trotted into the outdoor lounge. We chased them down. The tabby's owner was tall, elegant, and boyband handsome. He smiled at us. Is this ragdoll yours? Lindsay jabbed a thumb at me. Hers. Go chat, I'll pay for our stuff. She winked and left. I'm Shane. That's Little Full, and it's the first time she's befriended another cat. Let them play a bit. Watching Marshmallow's blissed-out face, and with Lindsay still gone, I nodded. We headed for a bench. Introductions barely over, a familiar silhouette caught my eye. Julian, laughing beside a gorgeous girl, each holding a dog, leaning in like a couple. Mr. Ice King was actually beaming. No bubbles needed, she had to be the fated heroine, the childhood friend, his exception. A sour pang hit, I tripped over nothing. Shane caught my wrist before I face-planted. A scalding gaze burned the spot Julian stared at, my captured wrist. I met his eyes, dark, stormy, jaw clenched, smile gone. I didn't get it, he'd just been radiant with her. I slipped my hand free and offered Shane a tight smile. Thanks, Dr. Everett. He stepped back, gentlemanly, and switched the topic to cats. Little Full, he said, is so picky she's never had a feline buddy. Marshmallow was a miracle. They look like future besties. Actually, Marshmallow belongs to my friend, the one at checkout. Shane's eyebrow lifted, eyes soft on the cat's. Then she takes after her human. Marshmallow tilted her head, pupils wide. Yep, both Cat and Lindsay shoot first, ask later. If you're not in a rush, once Lindsay. Woof. Casey, a bark cut me off. Bailey barreled toward me. Shane moved protectively, blocking the dog. Bailey skidded, confused, then whined and danced in place. I knelt, scratching ears. Missed me, big guy? Tail helicoptering, he nuzzled into my arms. Shane relaxed once he saw we knew each other and the cats were chill. The girl with Julian approached, leading the other dog. Julian was nowhere. Bailey greeted her with happy circles and urgent barks, clearly trying to tell me something. My throat burned. She and Bailey were obviously old, easy friends. I swallowed the ache, about to speak, when Julian reappeared. He looked stricken. The comment bubbles exploded overhead. Whoa, side chick's about to get written out. Love triangle bloodbath. Bring popcorn. Plot glitch? When did the script derail? Julian yanked me to the bench, forcing me to sit. He knelt, lifted my right foot with impossible gentleness. Heat from his palm crawled up my ankle, straight to my spine. I flashed back to the day he'd flinched from my touch, and jerked away. He stared at his empty hand, curled it slowly, knuckles whitening. I cursed myself. Did I overreact? Marshmallow suddenly vaulted into Julian's arms. She scaled his chest, wound her paws around his neck, and purred right against his ear. Julian's whole body froze. When he looked up again, his usual calm mask was back in place. He pulled a pocket-sized antiseptic swab and a band-aid from his jacket. Tansy, your ankle's bleeding. May I clean it for you? I hesitated, glancing at the girl beside him. Feeling my stare, she spoke first. Hi, first meeting, I'm Gwendolyn. She paused, then added, oh, I'm his cousin. My brain blue-screened. So did the comment bubbles. They exploded like a dropped pot of chili. Wait, what? My ride-or-die ship just turned into actual family? Guys, are we reading a bootleg chapter or what? I swayed, dizzy, and looked at Julian. Hope lit his face, a faint flush rode his cheekbones, sweet and shy. His clear voice rose. So, I'll take Bailey now, okay? Gwendolyn jiggled the leash and left the lounging area. Lindsay had slipped back at some point. She wiggled her brows at me. In one slick move she scooped Marshmallow and yanked Shane away, dragging him off the scene. Julian stayed silent, attention fixed on my wound. The sting hadn't even spread before a cool breeze brushed my skin. He was cupping my ankle, blowing softly to dull the hurt. His words drifted up, almost dreamlike. Tansy, I like you, have since the first second I saw you. Cousin says it was just lust at first sight and calls me shallow, but I really fell. I schemed to move into the next door lake house, to crash into your life, to make you look at me, to be with you. I did something wrong, so it's okay if you say no, just please don't ignore me. His voice cracked, rims of his eyes glinted, tears threatening, stubbornly refusing to fall. He looked heartbreakingly obedient. My pulse thundered. I cradled his face and coaxed, tell me exactly what bad thing you did, and I'll decide whether I still ignore you. Julian dropped his gaze, lips pressed tight, wearing the expression of a man walking to the gallows. Whenever I missed you and was scared you wouldn't see me, I lied and said Bailey was the one who wanted to visit. Some of the stuff you bought for Bailey. I kept it from him. That's everything? His mouth opened and closed, beans spilled in a rush. And your missing hair tie, I blamed Bailey, but actually nothing more, I swear, so please don't freeze me out. Staring at those slightly pouted lips, vivid and tempting, I leaned down and pressed mine to them without thinking. Julian's frame locked, clearly unprepared for the ambush. After a stunned second he slipped into the kiss, answered me, then suddenly stopped, trembling as if fighting some urge. Puzzled, I started to pull away. Julian's hand slid to the back of my head, sealing the kiss deeper. Only his ragged breathing betrayed the storm inside. Days with Julian felt no different, except he'd grown blunt, no longer hiding behind Bailey but cooing straight out for my company. I'd also given him standing clearance to come and go as he pleased. Looking back, I realized Julian had left his door wide open from the start, just waiting for me to wander in, practically begging me to bite the hook early. As for the comment bubbles that once fanned every flame, they hadn't vanished. News of Gwendolyn and Julian being cousins smacked them silent. Insults toward me thinned. Some viewers even boarded our ship, yelling about how delicious the content tasted. Others complained our love was too pure, demanding spicier scenes. Being watched while dating did make me twitchy, so we'd kept things PG. Still, the crowd got one thing right, I absolutely craved him. Yet Julian, whether from shyness or something else, wore the words self-restrained gentleman on his forehead, never making a move, leaving me deflated and wondering if my charm had expired. To celebrate my finally landing my man, Lindsay prepared a grand present guaranteed to level up the romance experience. Yesterday Julian had suddenly asked me to watch Bailey. Tansy, I've got an urgent trip home, back in 3 days. Thanks for the help, the bag has all his daily stuff. I agreed. He hurried off. It felt odd. Julian's place was right next door, and I'd looked after Bailey before, so why haul the dog and his gear over? But Lindsay's love hack was on my mind, so I shrugged it off. Even couples need breathing room, he'd tell me when he was ready. I trusted that. This morning my romance care package finally arrived. I tore it open, then stared at the flimsy scrap of fabric in shock. Lindsay texted at once. Lindsay, the master strikes, no returns. Just try it, please. Embracing the sin sits here spirit, I marched to the walk-in closet. When I checked the mirror afterward, my face flamed crimson. The woman reflected had slim waist, long legs, killer curves, yet the slip was scandalously sheer, crimson cloth hinting at skin beneath like a watercolor wash. Heat rushed over me. From the living room Bailey barked, urgent. I threw on a jacket and rushed out. He was standing on hind legs, pawing the doorknob, desperate to leave. Probably wanted back to his own territory, dogs are big on that, I'd heard. I opened the door and walked him next door. He nuzzled me, trotted inside, but ignored his favorite chew toys and didn't raid the treat jar. Instead he sniffed every corner, circled twice, then bolted straight for Julian's bedroom. Weird. I followed him in, only to hear water running in the inset. Instant goosebumps. Julian wasn't home, so who was in there? I mentally mapped the situation. Unknown intruder. Better to retreat quietly with Bailey, hide, then call 911, avoid confrontation. Plan set. Click. The bathroom door swung open. My heart jammed in my throat. Bailey had already darted inside. Steam billowed, the mirror reflected a familiar bare back. Why had Julian lied to me? The comment bubble surged again. Plot twist overload, this roller coaster won't quit. Leading man bonus shower scene, yes please. Still, lying to your girl? Not cool, hero. I sniffled, stung. About to demand answers, I caught a bubble from the corner of my eye. Holy crap, am I seeing things? Dude has a tail. Me? I looked up and locked eyes with Julian. A violent splash erupted as a pearly silver tail whipped the water into a sheet that slapped me head to toe. My clothes glued to me, cold and clammy. Julian frantically shoved the tail downward, trying to cram it out of sight. Hopeless. The bubbles screamed, then disintegrated midair. Julian sat in the tub, face so red it looked ready to drip, flecks of white scales glinting along his cheekbones and throat. His torso gleamed ivory, muscles tight, flush blooming. Lower down unfurled that iridescent tail, pure as moonlit jade, breathtaking. I wanted to touch. Instinct carried me 2 steps forward. Wait, he's in the bath. I'm basically a peeping Tom. I squeezed my eyes shut and spun around. And didn't move. Julian had caught me, not with his hand, with his tail. It curled around my waist, lustrous and warm. I lifted my hand, the urge to move almost irresistible. When he saw me freeze, he drew his tail back, leaving a slick glide of cool scales across my waist. Tansy, don't go. Julian's voice was low, talking as if he were alone in the room. Tansy, don't leave me, okay? I'll keep my tail hidden. I won't hurt you. At the end, a sob cracked his voice, and he added, don't be afraid of me. I sighed inside, wondering why Julian would even think that way. Were human minds and merman minds really so different? I turned to face him, but my foot slipped and I pitched straight into his arms. Only now things were a little disastrous. A blinding white filled my vision. My breath fanned across his skin, and pink roses bloomed in vivid color. The body beneath mine trembled, dragging in ragged breaths. I looked up. Julian seemed to be enduring something. The corners of his eyes glistened with a fragile red, his gaze hazy and half-lost. I struggled to push myself up. Julian locked his arms around me, refusing to let me move. A stifled groan escaped him, several perfectly round pearls rolled along the line of his jaw and dropped onto the roses. Almost in a trance, I stretched out and pressed my palm against them. Ah! His breathing grew heavier. Only then did I realize what I was doing. Flustered, I tried to pull my hand back. The skin under my fingers was satin smooth, pearls shifting warm in my cupped palm. Remembering what he'd just begged of me, I ignored the heat flooding my face, leaned over Julian, and kissed him, hard, insistent. He startled for a heartbeat, then lifted his mouth to meet mine. Our breaths tangled until I wilted against him, limp and dizzy. A muffled laugh rumbled above me. Julian's voice was husky. Tansy, I understand now. I understand what your heart is telling me. The spotless pearls slipped into the water, forgotten by both of us. Today was Julian's 21st day ashore. Following cousin Gwendolyn's instructions, he was obediently sitting in Lakeside for his Survive Among Humans training. He hadn't expected to be targeted by a cat. Fish anxious, but fish tough. He shifted, just a little, and the white-bodied, gray-faced creature pounced, claws hooked in his shirt, utterly uninterested in dismounting no matter what he said. The kitten studied Julian for a long moment, then declared, Fish, you want a wife or not? Wife. Julian's face flamed. He blustered, you ridiculous cat, I have no idea what you're talking about. Marshmallow will introduce you. My mom's friend is beautiful and kind. I'm staying at her place right now, I'll set you two up. Marshmallow never lies to fish. Julian remembered the elder's warning, never trust land creatures. Yet Gwendolyn had also said animal words were worth hearing. And, if the cat spoke true, he would be a married merman, envied by every shoal back home. Julian couldn't resist the bait. He asked for directions. When he saw Tansy, she was sitting on the grass, nose pink and eyes bright with unshed tears. Julian's heart pounded like a drum. Back then he hadn't understood why, he'd only known he wanted to wipe those tears away. He spent the whole afternoon coaxing her. Truth was, Julian had zero experience comforting anyone. Terrified of saying the wrong thing and earning her dislike, he let Marshmallow feed him line by line. After that day, all he could recall was the scent of her hair, the knowledge that human tears are wet and saltbitter like seawater. Gwendolyn scolded him for falling for a pretty face the moment he hit dry land. She kept an eye on him and, after a few days, noticed his tail turning dull from missing the girl. Panicking, she roped her boyfriend into a scheme that ended with Julian renting the next-door lake house. Close water, quick moon, her boyfriend joked. Discovering Tansy liked anything fluffy, Julian adopted a puppy just for conversation fodder. He followed every rule Gwendolyn gave him. Don't rush, don't cross her boundaries. Don't be reckless. Let Tansy grow used to you. But show yourself, humans enjoy the view. The advice proved sound. Whenever Tansy's gaze swept over him, Julian felt a burn travel straight through his gills. The entire fish was practically poached. Day 100 ashore. Julian returned home with Gwendolyn, bringing back a cooler of fresh catch. He loved it, Tansy loved it. But as they came back, he overheard her on the phone with a girlfriend, something about wanting to sample this or that dog, and check out so-and-so's brother. He didn't grasp the slang, yet the word dog stung. Wasn't Bailey enough? Julian's stomach lurched. Was someone else trying to lure her away? Bailey dashed over and explained, but the clarification only made Julian feel worse. Still, Gwendolyn's boyfriend had warned, women dislike jealous men, give them space. After they've had their fun, they'll come home. Julian tidied his emotions and pretended he hadn't heard. Besides, something wonderful had happened today. Tansy had touched him. Afraid he'd lose control, he'd fled the room before joy swallowed him whole. The happiness didn't last. Tansy invited him to go ocean swimming with her. Julian was entering a sensitive season. His tail might surface at any splash. He wasn't fuzzy or cute. And she still wanted to see other dogs. Internal chaos, external threats. Day 103. Tansy declined his offer to walk Bailey together. Julian worried she wasn't busy at all, only avoiding him, yet also worried she truly was overworked and exhausting herself. He learned soup making from Gwendolyn's boyfriend and delivered a thermos to her condo every evening. He even wrapped small gifts, apologizing with printed cards. His handwriting was still hopeless. Gwendolyn assured him sincerity plus his face would carry the day. Day 110. Julian and Gwendolyn went to Pet Palace to buy Bailey a new collar, and stumbled on Tansy chatting with another man. Traitor Marshmallow, how dare she find Tansy a different husband behind his fin? Infuriating, the stranger even held her hand, oblivious to the blood on her ankle. How could he care for Tansy if he missed something so obvious? Jealous fire scorched Julian's chest. He longed to curse the guy. Problem, he'd never cursed a human, only rival fish. Just being of Tansy's own species felt like an unfair advantage, stirring Julian's envy. No, jealousy was forbidden. Recalling Gwendolyn's coaching, Julian hurried to buy band-aids and antiseptic swabs. Surely competent first aid would earn him an extra glance. Instead, Tansy dodged him and refused his help. Marshmallow leaped into his arms. Julian, fighting tears, demanded, "Cat, you liar. How could you introduce her to someone else?" Marshmallow blinked. "Fish, that Tom was for me, not for her." A grumble sounded from the tabby nearby. Julian froze, delight surged like a tide. Head spinning, he blurted a confession, and Tansy kissed him. But his season was almost upon him, every sense amplified threefold. He fought the swell, couldn't hold back, kissed her deeper. Day 115. Julian handed Bailey's leash to Tansy and hid himself away, soaking in the bathtub while the fever rode his body. No fur, only scales. He feared she'd find his tail grotesque, feared hurting her while hormones raged. Yet, despite his planning, Tansy barged in. Terrified she'd reject him, Julian coiled his tail around her in reflex, then panicked and tried to hide again. Failing completely, she didn't flee. Tansy slipped and landed against his chest. Silk slips soaked scarlet and white. Julian couldn't look, he simply held her, skin to chilled skin. Alien sensations overwhelmed him, tears spilled freely, each droplet crystallizing into pearls that her palm trapped against his throat. The contact seared through every scale. Through the haze he felt her mouth on his. Tansy accepted him, tail, tears, and all. Another pearl slipped beneath the water, unnoticed, unclaimed. Thanks for listening to today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like and share with friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more tales. See you next time.